Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of Food Truck 101, Beginner to Winner, as well as the forthcoming book, Food Truck 201, Excellence. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. All this week, I'm talking to Justin Mullis. He's the owner of Gourd Handcrafted Tacos. Today, we're going to be talking about his philosophy on respecting the kitchen.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
On Mondays, since that's the day that you do the market stall, right? Tell me what your work day's like. What time do you get up? What do you got to do first? Tell me about that.
Well, the work day actually starts the night or the day before. We come in and we'll prep for about 3 hours. I have a crew of 5 people, and our work gets spread out throughout the week. 3 of us will come in on Sundays, and we'll chop all our ingredients. We'll make our salsas, marinate any meats that would need to be marinated. And then the next day, Monday, I'll wake up, I'll take our daughter to the babysitter. I'll get to work, and we'll make sure that our menus are printed off so that anywhere you walk in, if you're coming to order, the menu's easy to read. And if I need to redesign the menu, I'll just do it real quick. It doesn't take very long. But usually our employees will get there around 9, finish any prep that needs to be done from 9 to 10. And then from 10 to 11, it's all about cooking.
Right.
And so then that's when that procedure starts.
All right. So once you get into your service time, how long does it take you on the other side of service to put everything away and clean up and get out of there?
You know, we do a really good job of pre-closing. It just kind of depends on how the flow of the shift goes, right? So like if we have like a rush more towards like the tail end of our shift, any pre-close that we would have done before then is pretty much canceled because we're cooking food when we shouldn't be cooking food. So it usually doesn't take more than an hour to close up.
You think that'll hold true when you get on the food truck or the food trailer itself? Will it take you about an hour to clean up?
I don't know, because the equipment is a little bit different, and I definitely want to make sure that we are respecting our space as much as possible, especially because I have so much invested in it.
Right.
Now, I do teach my team that we should respect the kitchen that we're in. It's just that the way that our kitchen is set up now, there are so many different people that are coming in and utilizing the same equipment that it's very hard for the equipment to stay pristine, right? But we're going to be in a trailer with all brand new equipment. So we know what the standard is because we can see it on the very first day before we've even made anything. I think that it'll be a little bit different. I think that we'll be taking our time with closing until we can establish like a routine or rhythm. And I'm okay with that because I want to make sure that my investment is taken care of properly.
That's the perfect attitude. You know, anytime that I bought new equipment or, started a new restaurant, started a new trailer, I took pictures of everything. And, we're talking back when you had Polaroid pictures. Now I take pictures of every single piece of equipment and tell everybody, this is how it looks when you go home at the end of the night. The only change in this picture I'll accept is, the scars that are going to happen, the scratches that are going to happen. You can't stop those, and you're not going to buff them out. Because stainless will be shiny, silver shiny, but as you cut and use knives and that it turns to a gray. And I'll accept that because there's a difference in something being worn and something being dirty. Dirty, I won't accept. So you've got the perfect attitude. And if you instill that in your team, you're going to have a great kitchen for many years. What got you into wanting to do a food truck in the first place?
I kind of think back to when I originally decided that I want to be self-employed and I want to have a business. And that came from every job that I've worked. I'm not going to be the person who's going to cry that I was mistreated at a bunch of different jobs. I worked hard and I was recognized in a lot of different places that I've worked, but the same thing kept happening where I just felt like burnt out every single time. And I jumped from different environment to different environment. I worked in a factory. I worked in a kitchen. I worked in sales. I did all of these different things. And at one point during my sales job, which was the job that I had before I decided to be an entrepreneur, I just couldn't do it anymore. It was weird. It was right before COVID happened. So we had a baby in February of 2020, and they gave us 8 weeks off to spend with the family. And then when I was getting ready to come back, they said, you know what, why don't you take a little bit more time? We'll call you when we're ready. And that's exactly when COVID was hitting, right? So in that time, I'm bonding with my family, and it's the best few months of my whole entire life. I didn't have to work, but I was still getting paid. And it was wonderful. I had so much time to reflect and think about the direction my life was going. And ultimately, I decided that, all right, let's go back to work. Let's see what happens. And after just a couple months, I wasn't getting the family time that I wanted. And although the money was good, it just wasn't enough. So after that, I did a business that ultimately failed. And I think that's attributed partially to COVID, but also because my heart wasn't in it. So my wife and I, communicating throughout the whole thing, we talked, and I was like, I think my heart is in cooking. I love cooking. At that time, I was making pizzas for birthday parties for the family, and I was doing taco parties for the family, and I was just doing it because I wanted to. But when you have all of these different people that you'd never met, I should say like family of family telling you like, man, this is so good. Like, do you sell this anywhere? It starts to make you think that maybe I should be selling this somewhere. Anyways, just to kind of like shrink this down a little bit, I sent a message out to the local co-op that we were talking about earlier, where I currently work. And I said, hey, is there any chef there that's looking for help? I have been shopping here for years. I really love your guys' culture, and I just want to learn. They ended up messaging me back, and they said, well, how about this? Why don't you send in a menu? And if you like it, you can come in and be a chef. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I'm not a chef. I want to be a chef, but I'm not a chef. Yeah, it took me about a month to come up with a full menu. I submitted it. That's when the business started. There were a few moments throughout the business before I had even thought about a food truck. And around this time, I actually started listening to your podcast. So that was a huge influence. And then I met some food truck owners, and I'm just like, the whole universe is saying food truck, right. And so that's where we're at. And it's the first thing that's felt right in probably 4 to 5 years.
Since people are going to be listening to this rather than actually being able to see us interact, just tell us how old you are.
I'm 26.
I knew you were quite young, but it's amazing that you've already got, kind of a plan in place at that age. And a lot of people at 26 are still trying to figure out what they're going to do, tomorrow, let alone for a career. So if you had to go back in time, would you start this journey earlier, or would you wait until it happened, in your life, or would you postpone it a little bit?
Well, I will tell you that timing wasn't perfect because, again, I quit a very well-paying job to go on this 2-year entrepreneurial journey that's finally starting to pay off. It took a toll on the family financially, and the stress was a lot. But I am a firm believer that things do happen when they are supposed to happen. I don't know if I would change anything. I think that there were a lot of hard lessons that I had to learn, and I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with that.
That's great advice. That is absolutely great advice. So let's talk about your personal background. You talked a little bit about the different jobs you've had. What would be your first paid cooking job? Let's start with that.
My first paid cooking job, if you'll consider it, was actually at Taco Bell. I was about 19 years old, and I was coming out of retail, which is the absolute opposite of a good fit for me. I cannot do retail. But yeah, Taco Bell, and it was awesome. I loved working at Taco Bell. I had never experienced like that teamwork and that speed of service, and it was just thrilling for me.
What was your job there?
I did everything. But when I first started, I was basically doing prep. They gave you a prep sheet. You'd spend several hours just dropping meats in the rethermalizer and frying various things and cooking beans and just whatever else was. I don't even remember what was on their menu anymore. But you're just dropping stuff in a rethermalizer, opening a bag, and it's labeled and put into a big hot box so that they can use it for the line. That's where I started. But they saw a little bit of promise in me, and the GM who was there at the time is one of my biggest influences. It's crazy because it's Taco Bell, right? But I think if we don't value those moments in our lives, then we're really leaving a big part of ourselves in the past, and it could be good or it could be bad. But anyways, I ended up getting moved over to the line. I was really, really fast, and I took great pride in it. And after a while, they were like, all right, let's see if you can apply this type of ethic to maybe doing orders or whatever. Excuse that. I'm so sorry.
Okay. No problem.
And they were like, yeah, so like, let's just see what else you can do. And eventually I got moved to a shift leader position at 19. I was way in over my head, but I was having so much fun. And yeah, so that was my first love as far as a job is concerned.
I got to say that's similar to me. I had never worked anywhere. My very first job was in a restaurant, and we sold roast beef sandwiches. I just worked my way up, not because it was just something that I wanted to do. It's just that they kept saying, hey, you can do this. Why don't you go try? And it's okay. I'll go try. It led to where I'm at today. I wouldn't change anything about my background. And, you talk about Taco Bell. I mean, to me, that's a big deal, because being able to survive in fast food, you got to be good, especially nowadays, because, not looking at how hard labor is to find right now, but when you started, they could replace you in a heartbeat if you weren't doing the job you needed to do. It's not a problem. Oh, yeah. And I had no problem telling people, this kind of work's not for you, so I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to let you go so you can find something you're going to be good at, and I'll find somebody that can, benefit my business. People used to make fun of me especially when I went to Wendy's, because the big joke back then was, you would say, somebody would order a hamburger and say, would you like fries with that? And that was always a big joke. And families would, make fun of me. Make fun of me all you want, because guess where I'm going to be? Like I told you, I ran the 5th highest volume Wendy's in the world. And that wasn't because I wasn't good. This is, I did what they taught me to do. So when somebody tells me they worked at Taco Bell or Wendy's or McDonald's or Burger King and got promoted in that, that's a good person. That's somebody that I want to be around, because they don't promote you if they don't see promise. Now, what you do once you get promoted, that's a whole different story. Our conversation tomorrow is going to touch on school and school curriculum and experience. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you find all the information helpful to your business, please become a monthly supporter of our podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new, just starting beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck questions. And again, thank you so much for listening. Come back tomorrow, because I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.